before we get into it, if you want to use, unlike arithmetic operation, if you are going to use relational operator or string operator, there should be a need for it. See, if I'm going to do a addition, that means I need that value. But if you are going to say that you are going to compare some values, when are you going to compare? Only on a specific need. This is where, other than your arithmetic operation, all the other operations, you are going to use it on certain conditions. Okay? Because do something, I might need to check whether values are equal, or values are not equal, value is greater than or lesser than. So that is where, for regular arithmetic, you don't have to, I can directly do. But these kind of things, you're going to use it on a different purpose. So before we see this, let us understand what is that condition. So that way, take a script. Okay. So there is something called as decision making. Okay. So what do you mean by decision making? So typically, so far, there was a command. If you run or if you have commands in sequence, shell will execute everything line by line. Okay, that is what we were seeing. But now, for certain reason, if you want to choose whether to run or not run, depending on some need, then there is a condition that we can, which is what we call it as decision making. Decision making means I will decide whether to run it or not. So that way, if I say, if I'm running a shell script, for example, I want shell script to print me something. So when it should print, I should decide. So if I have to decide, how will I tell that to script on what condition or on what basis that it has to print it? So that is where, if you want to do a decision, then for that, we need to give something called as a condition. So if you give a condition to the shell script, and depending on the condition, it will decide whether to execute a set of commands which you are allocating to it. So that way, instead of running each command line by line, you can also group a set of commands which we call it as statement. A statement is nothing but group of lines which you are going to run. So that way, I can tell the shell script, okay, I will give you a condition. Based on that condition, I will tell you whether to run this group of lines or not. So that way, this process is what we call it as decision making or conditions. So now, if you are going to have a condition, if you look at this, as the diagram says, so far what you did, you just gave everything line by line. Instead of giving everything line by line, for a particular line or a group of line, I can give some condition. Okay, and only if the condition is met or only the condition is success, it will go and run the code whatever you have given inside it. If the condition is not matching or it is not met, it will never execute the line. So it will skip that lines and it will go to the next line. Okay. So this is how, rather than running sequentially line by line, you can have group of lines together, and for that you can tell a condition. Okay. So as the diagram says, for example, I can put it up here. So just assume in your script you will have something like this: line 1, line 2, line 3, like this. Okay. When you are going to execute, it is going to execute line 1, line 2, line 3. Now, I can choose any one line or group of line, and let's assume that I have line 4. Now, if I want, I can choose these two lines as a group, and I can give a condition. Okay. And for this condition, I will say these two lines are part of it. So now what will happen? After executing line 1, it will come and try to execute these two. But since this is under the condition, first it will check whether the condition is met or condition is success. Only if it is success, it will go inside and run them. Suppose if the condition is not success or not met, then it will skip these lines, and after this, it is the line 4, so it will directly execute the line. So this way, you can set conditions and decide how the script should work. So whether a script should run certain lines or skip that certain lines. Okay, that is what we call it as decision making. Now, remember, when you are having a condition, this is where in this condition, you are going to use all the expressions that we were seeing so far. That is, I can use relational, or I can use comparison, okay, or I can use arithmetic also. So, if you are using a relational operator as a condition, for example, now I will give a condition saying, okay, check whether there is a variable. If that variable has a value greater than 10, so I can give a condition here, some variable greater than 10, something like this. So now, only if this condition is met or the condition is success, then it will be executing. So that way, whatever that operator that you are using, if it is returning success, because when you use an arithmetic operator, if I add two number, what is that I'm going to get? Some additional value. If I subtract, I'm going to get a subtracted value. But if I compare something like this, what I'm going to get? I'm not going to get anything. That is where if you use the condition with these expression, when this expression is matching expected as what we had given, then it will be returning true or false. Okay, so true means the condition is matching, false means condition is not matching. Okay, so this way, for example, if my first line I had given variable is 20, something like this. So now what will happen? Is this condition true? Variable is greater than 10, so it will go inside, it will run. So that way, whatever the expressions that you are going to give inside it, if it is returning a true, it will execute. If it is returning a false, it will not. Okay. Now, not only that, you can also use 0 or a value. Like, for example, instead of this, what if I use an arithmetic operation something like this? Now, what will this return? What will this return? 20, right? So that way, in shell scripting, any non-zero or any non-null value is considered as, okay. So if you are going to get a value not a zero and not null, null means what? Empty. There should be some value. So if there is a some value and if it is not a zero, then it is called as true. So even in that condition, it is true. For example, is this condition true? 20 plus 10, 30. Is it a non-zero value? Null value? No, it is a value. So it is okay. But what if I say something like this? 0. So 0 is considered as false. So it is not a value. Okay. Not only that. Now, what if I directly give 0? 0 is also false because 0 means, see, do some operation, it is being written. But here I am not doing any operation, I am directly giving the value. So 0 means false. If I give 10, so anything which is a non-zero is considered as, okay. So remember, anything which is non-zero or a non-null is considered as true. In case if you are using arithmetic or you are doing directly. But if you are using any other operation like relational operational, then if it is true, only then it will be executed. Got it? Getting the point here? What do you mean by conditions and expression? So now, to perform a decision making, there are different kinds of syntax available. Okay, so depending on your need, we can use any one of them. So in shell scripting, typically there are 4 types. Okay, so we call it as if statement, if else, or nested if, and there is one more called as case. So we will see that one by one. Okay, but first, clear with what is a condition. So you're going to decide whether to run or not. This is where the first expression what you have or the statement is called as if. Okay, so the syntax to use this is you are going to say if square bracket, and under that you are going to give a expression and close this by semicolon, then and end the condition using F5. Okay, so here you are opening it, here you are closing. Now between this you are going to give whatever code lines that you want. So that way, if this expression is returning a non-zero or it is returning true, then it will execute this content. Okay. If not, anything after this, it will start executing. Got it? So this is one of the first syntax. So when are you going to use? So you are going to use where, okay, if my condition is true, do this. That's it. I'm just telling, hey, if this is your condition, if you match your condition, just do that. That's all. Okay. So now take this example. So I'm going to write a script now. So let's understand this script first. Okay. So now you can see this is defining or declaring a variable, and I'm declaring another variable. Okay. Now here the first thing I'm saying, now if you see, this is one line, this is second line, but after this you do not have an actual line. What you have a if statement, nothing but checking for a condition, and this condition is getting ended here. So that means anything under this will get executed if this condition is. So that way, what is that I've given as the expression? Dollar variable one. So what is dollar variable one? 10. So what is 10? So that means this condition is. Then what will happen? It will come inside and it will say print one got a true expression value, and then it is going to just print this value. Okay. Now, okay. Now once this is done, the next line again I have a condition. Now this is where if you go back, I am using a what is that? Comparison expression. So if I want to compare two numbers, then I'm going to use double equal. Remember, I should not use single equal. If I use single equal, it becomes assigned. So anything on the right hand side will be assigned to left hand side like this. Okay. So now, what is the condition here? Variable 1 is equal to variable 2. What is variable 1? 10. Variable 2, 0. Is it equal? No. So the condition is not true. Because of that, it will never execute this. So it will come at the end here. So after this, what is the line? Again, you have one more line. So now, again, I'm doing a condition. So this is where double equal to is for comparing is equal to. What if I want to check not equal to? So that is where you are going to say exclamatory mark equal to, not of equal. So this way, is variable 1 not equal to variable 2? Yes, condition is true. So that will come inside and it will execute. Okay. And then after executing it, it is going to run the last line, which is nothing but OS the end of just to understand. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll put a little tweak here. So I'll just say so I'm just putting some condition like this so that you will know what it is printing. Okay. So now this way at least you know this is going to first run this. If it doesn't run, then it will come here and then check for the condition. If it doesn't match, then it will come here. Okay. So let's take this. I'm just creating a file called if.sh. Okay. Now, mode this next. Now compare these two. So first, it is coming here, it is executing this line. Next, it is checking for the condition. Is it true? Yes. Because of that, it is executing the next line. Okay. After that, I'm printing echo variable 1. So it completed. Once this is finished, it is coming to the next line. So it is printing equal to. And then I'm again checking for a condition if variable 1 is equal to. So that is where it is not equal to. So it skipped and it went to the next one. So you can see it is running. And after that, it is checking the condition. Again, it is not checking. Again, it is going to make sure it is fine. Yes, it is fine. It is true. So because of that, it is going inside and it is running this. And post this, it is coming to the next line. This is how when the condition is not met, it is going to completely skip whatever is available here. Okay. So this is what we use to put a single condition, wherein you can say if the condition is met, do it. That's all. Okay. Getting it? So if the condition is met, if not, now that is where we haven't told, okay, if the condition is met, do this. If the condition is not met, what are you going to do? So we didn't tell anything. So that is where in the if statement, we basically have one more kind of statement, which is called as if else. So else means what? Else means something else. So now the first type what we said, if a condition is met, do something. If not, do nothing. Just come out and start with the next statement. Whereas if I have a requirement which if I have to tell if my condition matches this, my condition doesn't match, do something else. So that way you will have both the things because any one of them will definitely run. If a condition is matching, it will do. If the condition is not matching, definitely it will run something else. So this is where whenever you have a requirement in which you want to do something if the condition matches, and if it doesn't matches something else, then you are going to use additional keyword called else. So for that, syntax is instead of just giving the statement, you are going to again use else, different set of statement, and fi. So now what will happen? If this condition is met, it will execute this statement. If the condition is not met, whatever you have given in the else, it will be. Okay. Now, if I go back to this program, what we have now here, see, instead of running one more condition, I can directly do one thing, which is, so here I will say like this. Okay. So now what is that I'm saying? First, check if variable 1 is equal to 2. If it is, then run this. If not, else just come and do this. That way I know if it is equal, it will run. If it is not equal, definitely it is not equal. Then I'm going to run this. Got it? So this is how you can give else. Sometimes it is easy. You can reduce too many if conditions. If it is success, it will do one part. If it is not, it will do other parts. Okay. And once it is complete, it will then complete to the next line after your closing the condition. Okay. Now see this. So it says variable 1 is not equal. That is because this condition is not matching. Now let's change the same. See this. I'm making it equal. So now what will happen? This condition will match. So it is going to run this and it will skip this because the condition is met. You can see here running this. That is how, depending on your need, you can tell which to run, which one not to run. So here, if the condition matches, the first statement will run. If it doesn't match, it will just blindly run it. Getting it? Difference? Online? You guys getting it?
Yes, Adam. Yeah.
Yes, Adam.
Yes, Adam.
Okay, now here again, in certain scenario, see, it is blindly checking this. If not, it is going to do this. But what if there is a requirement where you want to check that also of the condition? See here what is happening in the if else. If this is not met, blindly it will run. But what if I want to check that also? Wherein this is where you might have one more condition. What I'm saying, if my first condition doesn't match, check for my second condition. So in that case, here instead of using else, I can use something called as else if, okay, which is called as elif. So now what is elif? First, run this condition. If it is not matching, come to this. This is else. But in the else, you again have a condition. So it will check whether this condition is matched. That way you are not just saying else do this. If this condition is not met, else check for this condition. That way you can have more than one condition. And suppose if this condition matches, it will execute. In case if this condition also doesn't match, then it is going to run the third one. So like this, I can have any number of else. But remember, there should be only one else. Got it? What is it? I can have any number of else if, but there should be only one else. Because else means what? If nothing works, then you do this. That means if none of this condition match or true, then you do this. Okay? Got it? So now, let's take a simple example. Now in this example, what I want to do is, okay, if I give you a number, I want to check whether it is greater than or lesser than. If not both, what is the next thing? It should be equal to. Only three things, right? If you take a number, either it should be greater than the other number, lesser than the other number, or equal to. So this is where I can use the condition. Here you can see I'm defining two variables. So the first condition, what I'm saying, if variable 1 is greater than. So this is where now I'm not comparing. I am trying to do a relational operation which is greater than. So if you want to check if one value is greater than other value, then you are going to use hyphen. GT stands for greater than. Okay. Now, is 3 greater than 2? Yes. So that means it will go inside and it will run this. And now once it is run, none of them will work. So it will just come to the last line. So here I can say end of script. Okay. Now, what if I make 3, 3? Then is variable 1 greater than variable 2? No. Okay. Then this condition is not met. So it will skip and come to the else part. But in the else, you also have a condition. That's where you are going to give else. Else if together. Now in this there is other condition. And now hyphen LT means less than. So this way, is variable 1 less than variable 2? No. If it was, then it is going to execute. So this way now, this condition is also not met. This condition is also not met. So typically it will come to the else part and it will run this. And once it is finished, it will come. Okay, so this is how you can give multiple if in an else if, but there should be only one else. And remember the syntax: you're opening a if and you're closing this if. Under this, I can give another condition and else. Okay, got it? So now let's run this and check. So I'll just give elif. So now h4 plus x. So what it should say? Variable 1 is equal to variable 2 because we had 3 and 3. So that's why the last condition is met. Now let me change the value. Now which one should it execute? It should execute the first one. You can see matching the first one. That's the reason it is skipping these. Now first condition doesn't match, second condition matches, it will run that. Got it? So this is how you can use the conditions accordingly, so that if one condition is not there, you can use another condition to match. Okay. In that, now if I go back, so let's see the comparison operator, whatever we used. Okay. So now you can see either I can say -uq or double equal. Both are one and the same for a numeric. If I want to check not equal to, then I can say -ne, which is equivalent to saying exclamatory equal. Okay. But if it is greater than, I will say g. If it is less than, ld. If you want to check greater than or equal to, then you are going to say. If you want to check it is less than or equal to, then you are going to use LB. Okay, got it? So now in this, you are actually using a logical operator. So what is logical operator? You are going to decide two things. Now in this, there are two conditions. One is greater than or equal to. Okay, this is where if you are using OR logical operator, then if any one of them is true, it will be the total as. Okay. If both are true, still it is true. But if both are false, then it is going to be false. So that way, that's the reason we say greater than or equal to, so that any one should be good. So now see here. Okay. So now in this, now I'm going to write. Here, what will I say? If $variable 1 is less than or equal to $variable 2, I'll just say it worked. So now, is variable 1 less than or equal to variable 2? Yes. What is that? Is it less than? Yes. So that way that first condition works, right? See this? So it says it worked. So now let's try to use once again. I'll make this as 21. So is it less than? No, but it is equal to. So even then the condition will work. It says it worked. Same thing now. I'm just adding one more value. So is it less than or equal of both of them or not? So that way, totally it will not run this. Got it? Yes, it is important. Space is important. Getting this? How do you use logical operator? So this is where I was telling you earlier. For arithmetic operation, you can directly use. Whereas if you are going to use logical operator, then it has to be used only in a condition or some other scenario. Okay, because I cannot directly use, because what it is going to return is a true or false value. Got it? Clear with if, else if, or else statement. Now there is one more condition, if you remember, which I told is, okay, now we didn't see string comparison, right? So far what we used is only numeric comparison. So in this example, if you see, I want to have a variable called Adam and the other variable called M. If I want to compare these two, then I'm going to use equal to or not equal to. Okay. So this is where you're going to use this for string. Okay. So for a string, hyphen equal or hyphen ne will not work. Okay. So you're going to use this. Okay. So now I can compare it. So it says string doesn't match. Why? Because exactly if you see, variable 1 is not equal to variable, whereas here is the condition 2, no. That's the reason it is not matching. But what is the condition I'm seeing? Now I'm telling, check whether variable equal to variable 2. Is it? Is variable 1 not equal to variable 2? Yes. So that way condition is getting the point here. See, the condition itself, I am putting it in such a way to give me true. So is this variable not equal to variable 2? Yes, it is true. So that's the reason it is printing string doesn't match. That is for numeric. For string, we are going to use this. Okay, getting this? Now, the last thing that I wanted to show for that condition is switch. So in some scenarios, you might not have a condition, but you will have some pattern which you want to check. Okay. So whenever you have such a scenario where you want to set a pattern, and if it matching the pattern, instead of giving an expression, I can give some pattern. Pattern is nothing but a string. If it matches that string, it can go ahead and do certain activity accordingly. So this is where you can say the statement as syntax is case, you give a variable name here and you say in. So what it is going to do, it is going to compare if this value of the variable is matching any one of them, and accordingly it is going to work. That way, for each pattern, you are going to say pattern value and what is this? A half bracket and followed by whatever the statement. And to end this, you are going to say, if it matches this pattern, it will run this. If it matches this pattern, it will run this. But what if none of the pattern matches? That is where, like else, you are going to give a star. So what does star represent? If nothing matches, you come here, match everything. Then whatever you give here, it will work. So that is where you are going to say stack to. Okay. To just give you a simple example in understanding, let's take this. So now if you see, I'm creating a variable called variable1, and I'm opening a case wherein I'm saying case dollar variable in. That means I'm telling check whether the value of this variable is in any one of this. So now here how many patterns I have? One. That means if any of the value matches corresponding pattern, it will run whatever you have given inside it. So that way, if my value is 1, this will match. Then it will come inside and it will run number 1. And it will not do anything. It will come to the end. In case if it matches 2, it will run this and come out. So if none of the value matches, then it will come and run not in 1. Okay? See this? Okay. Now let's run this. So now let me run this. So what is it printing? 1 because it matched this. If I change the value this to 3, so now this is going to match the third pattern of the value and it is going to print this. You can see. Now, if I change it to something else, okay, then none of them will match. Then the star. Star means everything. So that way, if none of the previous one matches, come here and run it. Say not in. Got it? This way, what I want you to remember today is if there is a condition to do some activity, then you're going to use any of the statement depending on your need, like if, or else, or switch. And in that, you're going to give certain expressions. It could be a arithmetic expression or it could be a relational expression. And accordingly, you're going to match it. Okay. Now, this is needed to actually do something. So this is where you are applying some logic. Okay. So like this, we need to know there are a lot of other things in the logic. Once we know all those things, then we can write a real script where I will do a condition, I will decide, I will do some arithmetic, generate some value and other. There is little more things called loop and other things which we will be seeing it one by one. Okay. Any questions so far on what is a variable and what is a condition and what kind of operations you can perform?
So in the if statement, we need to put the square bracket with the semicolon. That is the syntax, right?
Where?
When we use the if, right? Any condition we are putting, so we need to put the condition in the square bracket with the semicolon, right?
Yes, this is the syntax for bash. Okay, so that's what we are seeing first, the syntax. Yes.
But some places I seen that we are putting the normal bracket, right?
Where?
Without semicolon, without semicolon. Some of the script in the company I see.
Yeah, the shell might vary. So if you go back and see, they might be using sh instead of bash. Okay, So this is one of the syntax we are going to use. So whatever we are using is a bash shell. So there will be small difference between shell to shell. What we are using is bash shell, and this is the default syntax. Any questions?